record? Okay, we are recording. Okay, so what questions do y'all have about the blocked and random assignment, specifically in section 3?
Okay, so the hypothesis has to be related to the experiment, right? The one we're doing with the graphs, with the graphs in Excel.
Yes. Okay, I think we need to back up. What are the 3 tasks that you're doing to test blocked and random?
So you're doing the task at different times. You have to set them in random and block schedules.
What's the task though?
The task was, I just remember the task. It was something, it was 150 trials.
Stopwatch? Okay.
Yeah, stopwatch, keep doing it for 0.5 seconds or something like that. And you had to keep hitting
it.
I think for task A, it was 1.50. Task B, it was 2.50, and task C, it was 3.50.
Okay. So I'm not asking y'all because I don't know. I'm asking to see if you've read the assignment yet. So for section 3, the blocked and random, there are three tasks or 3 skills. The first one is starting and stopping a stopwatch in a duration of 0.5 seconds. So it's not that one that you did in section 2 where you're moving on the piece of paper. It's not that. So you've got new skills, new tasks. So you can either use a traditional stopwatch and go dun dun, and then so the person would need to do that without looking at it, obviously. So they're just holding a stopwatch and doing a start stop, and then they get feedback, and you have to record it just like you did in section 2. So you would write down, if they were too fast, if they were too slow, and with the milliseconds. Okay, so like if they did it in 0.62, they were too slow by 0.12. And then the second task is the same thing, except with a duration of 1 second. So they're trying to go dun, dun, and make it exactly 1 second. Then the third task is the same thing, except they're trying to make it exactly 1.5 seconds. Okay? So you've got to have one person to be your blocked participant. Are y'all hearing me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
And one person to be your random participant. So the blocked person is going to do 50 trials of the first of task A, the 0.5. So dun dun, you write it down, give them feedback. Dun dun, you write it down, give them feedback. You do it 50 times in a row. Then they do the second task, task B, 50 times in a row. Then they do the third task 50 times in a row. That's blocked practice. Okay? And then the random person needs to do exactly 50 trials of task A, 50 trials of task B, and 50 trials of task C, except they need to do them in a random order. So in other words, you might say, okay, I want you to do the 0.5, and they go dun dun, and then you give them feedback. And then you might say, okay, now do the 1.5, dun dun, and you give them feedback, and then the 1. So you've got to plan it out ahead of time. You need to have it on a piece of paper where you've got task A is there 50 times, task B is there 50 times, task C is there 50 times, but they're in a random order so that they never do the same task twice in a row. Does that make sense?
We still split it up into 3 different trials.
Okay, so the definition of a trial is just one. So one trial would be dun dun.
Okay.
Okay, so they're doing 100, each person is doing 150 trials during acquisition, 50 of task A, 50 of task B, and 50 of task C, okay? Then 24 hours later, both people, so whenever the blocked person did it, 24 hours later, they're gonna do retention because you wanna see how well they learned the 3 tasks. So they're gonna do 5 trials of each task presented in a random order. And you're not going to give them any feedback, but you're going to write down how they did. So like you would say, okay, it's 24 hours later. Okay, give me a 0.5, and they try, dun dun. But don't let them look at it and don't tell them how they did. But you write it down. Okay, now give me a 1.5. Now give me a 1. Now give me a 0.5. Now give me a 1.5. So they're doing 5 of each, but presented in a random order. So then you can take that and that. So the blocked person did that, and the random person did that, that their retention trials are exactly the same. So then that allows you to compare who, because we really don't care about so much how they did during the 150, right? We really want to know which schedule was better for learning. So learning is measured by how they did 24 hours later on the 3 tasks. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now what questions do you have?
So formulating the hypothesis, we just had to form it based off what our anticipated results from the trial, the retention.
Well, what do you know? What do you know about blocked and random practice?
I know blocked it, according to Shea and Morgan, 1979, that the block practice is going to be better for performance, but it's going to be worse during retention. And
Okay.
random is going to be better for retention, but worse for performance because the elaborate hypothesis and the forgetting hypothesis was taken
Yeah. So yeah, your hypothesis is really simple. I mean, your hypothesis is that the blocked participant will have very low amounts of error during acquisition, right? Because if you could do it yourself, if you take a stopwatch and just do it yourself, and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to hit 1 second. You do it once, dun dun. You're like, oh, that was a little too fast. Dun dun. Oh, that was close. You're going to get really close to 1 second pretty soon, and then you're going to be really pretty consistent if you're trying. But the random person, we would hypothesize that during acquisition, they would have more error. They wouldn't be nearly as good at it. But like Corey said, we would expect, according to what we know about those practice schedules, that the person who did random acquisition would be a lot better for retention, which actually tells us what they learned, which is important. So we would say we expect them to have less error when they do their 24-hour retention trials.
Okay, now it makes sense.
So what do you mean when you said on the D2L, you said, what do you plan to do? So are we creating our own?
No. Okay, so let me okay, I'm going to do a share screen with you, and I hope it works. Okay, so you're not going to see me, you're going to see my screen. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, can y'all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is on the blocked and random. Let me see if I can get this to scroll the way I want it to. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so down in blocked and random 3. Okay, here we go. Okay, so all of this is basically just what I told you about how the blocked person does it and how the random person does it. But with it, so what you're turning in are 2 assignments. You're gonna have the completed results sheets. So you're gonna have to, make, a Word document that has 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and then you put in their errors just like you did in section 2. Okay.
So it's like we're recreating the chart from section 2.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so you're recording the data in basically that same format. Just make sure it's the right number of trials and the random is random and all that. And then you're going to need to create a graph that shows the plots, that shows the results for the 2 conditions, for acquisition and retention. So you can kind of look at some of the studies that you've been reading about blocked and random practice, like Shea and Morgan and those. So those 2 things are one document. And then the second document, I think what you're talking about right here, is the beginning of your APA paper.
Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to get it where you can see it. Okay, so you're submitting a title page, an abstract, which the abstract might not be done yet, but that's okay. The introduction, literature review, methods, and references. So at the end, blah, 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 da, 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 da. I'm trying to find where. Oh, okay. At the end, so this sentence right here. It should end with what you plan to do. A brief explanation of method. Okay, let me rephrase. In fact, I'm going to rewrite this part just to make it clear. The literature review. So you have an abstract, which is the summary of the entire paper, which might not be done yet because you haven't finished it all. Then you have the introduction, which is basically introducing the topic of blocked and random to the reader. Then you have your literature review, which looks at like Shea and Morgan 1979, pull some studies that have to do with blocked and random practice and their effects on learning. Then at the end, so at the end of that, so you're citing at least 5 different motor learning studies related to blocked and random practice. Then at the end of the lit review section, it should end with what you plan to do, which is a very brief explanation of methods and your hypothesis. Then you have the methods section. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Okay, so in the literature review section, you're going to talk about at least 5 studies that have to do with blocked and random, what they did, what they found. And then at the end of that, you just need like a transition paragraph. Say, according, research on the effects of blocked and random practice schedules have shown that for a wide variety of motor learning skills and cognitive skills, random practice is more effective for the retention or learning of those skills. And then just 1 or 2 sentences. The current experiment is going to use a simple stopwatch task to compare blocked and random schedules of practice with the hypothesis that random will be shown to be more effective for learning compared to blocked. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So at the end of the lit review, you just need a little transition to say, okay, we talked about all this stuff that's been done before. Now here's what I'm going to do. Then the methods, you actually write the methods.
But is the methods what we're doing in section 3?
Yes. So
Or do we come up with our own?
No. Methods is all you're doing is the stopwatch. That is
okay.
That's your experiment.
Gotcha.
The one person doing the blocked schedule and the other person doing random. So you're not.
And then for the APA paper, we would just have to write out the methods that we're going to be conducting.
Yes. So the methods sections tend to be very precise and kind of, like they're very academic. So I'm going to share the screen again real quick. Won't let me scroll. Okay, let me see if I can scroll up. There we go. So for example, right up here is a very good, well, you can go to the OWL at Purdue website and look at APA papers, but then this right here has a pretty good example of an APA paper. So like if you click on this, it shows you APA formatting, how to do it, da-di-da-di-da. And then it comes down and it has kind of a miniature paper. And then to understand exactly how to write the methods, it's going to look very much like the Shea and Morgan 1979 paper or any like journal article that I made you read for class.
Okay.
So it's kind of very stiff.
For the graphs, you have to be 3 different graphs, right?
Why would you have 3 different graphs?
I mean, wouldn't you need one for the acquisition for the block and random, then another one for the
No. Okay. So what you're going to have, because what you're actually going to record for each person. So like say I'm your blocked participant, and then say Joe is your random participant. You want to have all of my data and all of Joe's data acquisition and retention on one graph, because if you don't, then you really can't see anything. So what you should be what should you be plotting like for the acquisition trials? So we did 150 trials, 50 of them at 0.5, 50 of them at 1.5, 50 of them at 1 second. What do you think we should plot?
Like the mode or the average?
Well, the average of what? So think about in section 2 when you did the blocked and random thing, you used constant error, right? You calculated CE, constant error. So that would be a really good thing to use. It would be constant error. So you're going to have a constant error number for every single trial. Well, we don't want to plot 150 points and then 15 more for retention, because that's too much. But what we could do is we could plot, I know this is kind of hard to, okay, let me get a piece of paper. Hold on. Okay. Okay, just a second. Task A, task B, task C, constant error. Okay, see this? Oh gosh, okay, hold on. So the vertical axis is constant error, and then you have task A, task B, and task C. Okay, so then you have two people. Let me get a different color. Let's see here. So maybe you have just a second, blocked, and then random. Okay, so this is one way you could, okay, so blue is blocked, see that? And so these are acquisition trials. So I would need to label that somewhere, but anyway, so what this, if this were the data, and I would have to have values over here on this y-axis, obviously, and then I'd probably actually want to have values on these bars. So this, if this is acquisition, what is this showing?
That random is better for acquisition. Random has a higher CE score than block, so it means a constant error, so it's worse than than block.
So this, if this is acquisition, this is showing that the blocked participants had lower constant error during acquisition, okay? And random compared to random. Random had higher constant error on all three tasks during acquisition. So like this is the average of the constant error for random task A. On and on. So then if you wanted, so then you need to have retention. So then you've got to extend your line. This is going to be a little, okay. So I just extended the x-axis that says retention. Sorry, that's really bad. And then, okay, just a second. I'm going to use a piece of tape because I don't have enough. It's not wide enough. Task A, B, C. This is retention. So if I plotted it kind of the same way, or what I would expect to see would be, if our hypothesis is true, then retention would look something like that. So now the blocked people have more error or higher, they're off. When they hit that stopwatch, they're off by more than the random group is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So it's just like basically two, it's one for acquisition, one for retention.
Yeah, but you got to show all three tasks.
And the constant for the longitude of the graph as well.
Say that again.
Then we have to have the constant area of each task as the longitude for the chart.
Right, right. So over here, obviously you have to have numbers. So if this is constant, I mean, you've got to have, you know, you won't know what those numbers will be until you've collected all the data.
So I can calculate the average like I did in section 2.
So you're going to take the mean, take the average or the mean of the constant error for what each of these bars represents. You know, this is blocked, acquisition, task A. That's the mean. This is acquisition, random, task A, so on and so forth.
And makes more sense.
Okay. Okay, what other questions?
For our actual paper,
Mm-hmm.
what are we turning in at this point?
Okay, so you're turning in the title page, the abstract, the introduction, which again, look at that sample APA paper, the literature review, which includes at least 5 studies, and then 1 paragraph to just kind of say briefly, okay, they've done that, and now we're going to test it using a stopwatch task. and the methods and the references.
Okay.
So would all those sections be completed at this point?
They would all be completed except the abstract.
Okay.
You may not have the abstract completely done. And then your references, you may end up adding in some more references, but they really should be, I mean, yeah, you have all the information to write all those sections.
All right. Dr. Kimbrough, I'm asking, so what is the expected length you think of the paper? You have a certain length?
No. So length is I don't like to use length because then people just add words that don't mean anything, or they'll just take my thing and go, it has to be exactly that long, and it doesn't. So really what you want to do is write a good paper. I'm not giving you a page number because
Okay.
it's not a good idea.
Okay.
But yeah, really good advice is look at sample APA papers online. Just Google sample APA papers, sample both at the OWL and the link I gave you. And then the language of what you write should sound kind of like a journal article, should sound like an article that was written and published in a motor learning journal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I have.
Okay.
All right.
Corey, if you want to hang up, that's fine. If y'all are ready to hang up, that's fine. Or you can stay and ask more questions.
So I kind of cut out for a second, but did
Okay.
Corey ask you about a page limit?
He did, and I
Okay.
said I'm not gonna give you any kind of page number.
Just look at other articles, see how they are.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. What else?
I think the last question I really had was just the abstract section of the paper.
Mhm.
I know you explained it, but can you run
Yeah.
over that? Yeah.
Okay, so the abstract is a summary of the entire paper. So your abstract right now isn't going to be completely done because you haven't done you haven't written the results section yet. So the abstract should start off with explaining just quickly what is blocked in random practice. What are blocked in random practice schedules? And then it should say in a sentence or two, what do we know about the effectiveness of blocked and random practice schedules? What are the effects on learning? And then briefly, your methods. The current experiment had 2 participants, one assigned to blocked condition, one assigned to random, using 3 versions of a stopwatch timing task. Participants completed 50 trials of each task with a 24-hour retention trial with 5 trials of each task, and then like 1 sentence for the results. So just give some numbers. You could say the blocked practice group, constant error for acquisition was lower, and then for retention, give actual numbers. I mean, don't just say blocked was bad, random was good. You need to say, actually say retention for the 3 tasks looked like this. Here's the random, here's the blocked, and then about 2 sentences that explain what that means. So if your hypothesis was confirmed that random practice was better for learning, then you would state that.
Okay.
So if someone reads your abstract, they should understand what you did, why you did it, what you found, and what it meant. So it kind of allows them to just read the abstract and get the whole picture without reading the whole paper.
Okay. Then it's gonna be at the beginning of the paper because I know it was kind of an order in the instructions.
Yeah.
So it'll be more so at the beginning or just
It goes right after the title page.
Oh, okay.
It goes title page, abstract, introduction, lit review, methods.
Okay.
Yeah. What else?
I think
That's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all the questions I had.
Okay. Well, if something comes up and you're working on it, just let me know. But yeah, hopefully that was helpful.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
It
Good,
is
you're
very
welcome.
cool. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, y'all have a good break.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too.
Okay, bye.